So Guillermo del Toro won Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars with the movie Pinocchio. What caught my attention was the fact that he said 3 key sentences focusing on animation itself.
Thank you. Animation is cinema. Animation is not a genre. And animation is ready to be taken to the next step. Is ready to be taken to the next step.
Animation is cinema. Animation is not a genre. Animation is ready to be taken to the next step. This declaration by Del Toro was made under the context that animation doesn't seem to be taken seriously.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own?
One of those effects being that stop motion animation seems to be a dying art form, with only Pinocchio literally being the only stop motion animation to be in large conversation with the audience and critics alike. If anything, directors such as Wes Anderson and Tim Burton dive into that world for their own vision and exploration. These directors already have a sense of experience with filmmaking itself, but stop motion animation has played an extremely important role in pop culture, with movies like Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas. The thing is, stop motion animation seems to be a luxury. Stop motion animation is a tedious process where every frame must be taken into account. You can't just press record and hope the figure starts moving by themselves. The director himself is very involved with the project to the highest degree, with the process of taking a picture, moving the frame a little for the next picture. So it's not a big stretch to say that stop motion animation might be dwindling because of its tedious task. Hence why you don't see theatrical releases for stop motion animation anymore. Nowadays, the only ones giving stop motion animation a go is streaming services. But okay, Del Toro wasn't specifically talking about stop motion in particular. If anything, stop motion is a part of a wide range of techniques that take place in the world of animation. CGI, hand-drawn, digitally drawn are also part of animation, of course. And the thing is, regardless of the sheer hard work these people put into the animated films, they don't seem to be as respected as live action. Before Del Toro's win, they even made it clear that they're self-aware of this sentiment.
Adequately capture the magic that is animated film.
I don't know, but that's why we're here. So these are the nominees for Best Animated.
And let's
Come
think
on,
about
man.
it. Well,
Come on, it's a
hold on
long
second.
night. Long
That
night.
The only animated film to quote-unquote compete with the other live-action films was Beauty and the Beast, which received a Best Picture nomination in the 1992 Oscars. But of course, it was competing with the highly acclaimed Silence of the Lambs, which was a no-brainer that it was going to win.
And the Oscar goes to The Silence of the Lambs.
It's ironic that the Academy doesn't take the animation seriously, considering Walt Disney has 59 nominations, winning 22 of them.
Beautiful statue. Isn't it great, Miss Annie? Aren't you proud of it, Mr. Disney?
I'm so proud, I think I'll bust.
But okay, this is just mainstream critics and celebrities. But what about the public? There seems to be a stigma that animation is tied specifically to a young, adult, or kids demographic. If you look at the most highly anticipated animation movies, you see all of them are likely to be mainly targeted towards kids. The reason Pixar seems to have garnered respect amongst all audiences is that the writing targets all ages, without sacrificing the enjoyment of a specific age range. Let me explain. In order to profit in the box office, a lot of animated movies must cater to 2 demographics, the parents and the kids. The fault many animated movies have in their writing is that they sacrifice the enjoyment of the parents for easy entertainment for the children. In order to compensate for the parents, they sneak in an adult joke here and there, or have a mature subplot going on, but it's never part of the main marketing or appeal. This is where Pixar seems to flourish in its storytelling. Pixar seems to target topics that are deeply personal to us, typically for adults. Climate change, generational trauma, grieving, loss, even fucking death. All of these are stories that adults can actively participate and be intrigued by. Co-founder of Pixar, Ed Catmull, in his book Creativity Inc., wrote on chapter 4 that Toy Story's production created 2 principles for them. Story is king, and number 2, trust the process. For the sake of my point, I'm going to focus on their mantra, story is king. Story, after all, is what brings people to movies, especially the public. If you get an ad for a kid's movie, chances are you're not going to be interested in it. But if you advertise a movie, let's say about a cat coping with his life while fighting a wolf incarnated as death, then you might be inclined to be down to watch a film, which is where we're at right now. Puss in Boots: The Last Witch is a phenomenal movie that became a big presence among online communities and even the mainstream, making a grand entrance at the Oscars. And the thing is, I've talked to people who have watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish having no expectations, but coming out of it pleasantly surprised. Prior to this movie, Spider-Verse had this exact same effect. My point Animation is here to stay, but it requires effort from both the audience and the writers. Writers need to start focusing on telling a story and adding adult-centered motifs in a digestible form for the kids. The truth is, animation might never have an adult-only presence in Hollywood. It is possible for adult animated cartoons and anime, but in the mainstream, I do believe the stigma of animation being a kid's medium might be hard to remove. So coming into terms with that, but also catering to the public is the way to go. Spider-Verse has done it, Puss in Boots has done it, Pinocchio has done it, and Pixar has always been doing it. I do think Pinocchio opens the conversation that animation can be used as artistic expression just as much as live action to the mainstream. And Puss in Boots 2 prove that animation with deep themes can be profitable. These are big wins for animation. But for it to enter and be normalized in the mainstream, studios and audiences must both take animation seriously. We see audiences take Pixar seriously, but that's because it's earned to be taken seriously. Studios need to make story king in order for audiences to garner their respect, or in their language, make more money. Filmmakers are already trying to integrate animation to their creative expression. They're fighting the good fight, and Del Toro is really trying to spearhead animation to the public. As of now, animation seems to be relying on sequels, big IPs, or their credentials in order to keep profits raking in. Hayao Miyazaki will be releasing his final Ghibli movie soon, and that seems to be the only truly unique and artistic animated movie to be coming out in the near future. From what I see it, a lot of animated content is in streaming services. If you're a grown-ass man who thinks animation is kids only, I suggest you give it a go. If you're already a fan of animation, I suggest you look towards more obscure and indie animated films. My point is, over the hedge is Kino.